Good evening, everyone. Yes. Welcome to Fordham University. My name is Michael Lee, and as director of the Curran Center for American Catholic Studies, I'm thrilled to greet you and get tonight's special event started. We at the Curran Center have a special role on campus. As you were checking in this evening, you may have been helped by one of our 60 extraordinary undergraduate students who are supplementing their Fordham educations with a concentration in Catholic studies. Among them have been valedictorians, Fulbright scholars, and award winners from departments not only in the humanities, but in the sciences and business as well. They are the lifeblood of our center, and they defy the notion that young people today aren't interested in religion if it's considered thoughtfully and creatively. Of course, we're also a public-facing center sponsoring a number of lectures, conferences, and other events that explore different dimensions of Catholicism, including musical artists. We've recently held lecture performances on Mary Lou Williams, on the great Billie Holiday, and we're so excited to welcome the legendary Dion DiMucci tonight. Now, before I bring up my colleague to introduce Dion, let me leave you with a few reminders. First, we would like to ask that you silence or turn off your cell phones. Yeah, you can do it right now. Go ahead. Yes. Thank you. Secondly, please note that no part of this evening may be recorded. We are being recorded professionally and will notify you when that might become available. Thirdly, if you like what you hear, we ask that you consider supporting the work of the Curran Center. We can't put on events like this without your support, no matter how modest. You know, say the price of a ticket to see the legendary Dion? Anyway, so please consider finding the Curran Center on the fordham.edu website and making a donation there. Finally, a lot of us in the room may have our own Dion memories. Mine, probably a little bit more recent than some of the ones in this room, but it comes from about 40 years ago. I was in college, and a friend of mine heard me say that I had one of Dion's latest albums. Jimmy, a self-professed Jersey guy, begged to borrow it. It was called Inside Job, and it was the first of Dion's gospel albums. When he returned it, Jimmy said, "Oh, the music is great, but those lyrics." Those lyrics indeed. Though it was strange to Jimmy, it really helped me at that point in my life. And I can say that part of the journey that has led me to being a theologian here at Fordham for the last 20 years can be traced in part back to Dion's music. So, let me invite up the Curran Center's Associate Director, Angela Lima O'Donnell, who will introduce tonight's special guest. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Michael. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. Well, greetings, and once again, welcome to Fordham University. And on this very beautiful day, we're so happy that you're here with us for our special program. I must begin by confessing, Catholic that I am, that I'm more than a little bit starstruck. When I was a child, growing up in northeastern Pennsylvania, about 100 miles from here, sitting on the floor of my family's living room and listening to the records that my older brothers and sisters played on our big Magnavox stereo, records like The Wanderer, I Wonder Why, Teenager in Love, Runaround Sue, all of these are very familiar to everyone in this room. And then later, the record that broke all of our hearts in the heartbreaking year of 1968, Abraham, Martin, and John. I never imagined I would share a stage with the singer-songwriter who performed those unforgettable songs. Dion was larger than life, as were so many of the great rock and roll idols of that era. Elvis Presley, Sam Cooke, Roy Orbison, and Buddy Holly, just to name a few. He was an artist that made music that articulated the angst and the energy, the agony and the ecstasy of being a young person in America during a time of enormous social change. In many ways, Dion's music and that of his contemporaries shaped our experience as well as our imaginations and gave us great tunes that told our stories and also lent us a voice. Dion's songs acknowledged young people, the seriousness and the challenge of growing up. As the saying goes, as the young people say these days, this music made us feel seen. Fast forward a few decades, and I stand here with a much fuller and richer sense of who Dion DiMucci is, both as an artist and as a person, thanks in part to his terrific memoir, which may look familiar to some of you in this room, Dion, the Wanderer Talks Truth, published in 2011, a book I highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. This evening's event has been a long time in the making. In January of 2023, a year and a half ago, my friend Mike Aquilina, who is sitting in the front row, and who is a dear friend of Dion's as well as a collaborator, arranged for Dion to send me a signed copy of the memoir at my request. I knew that Dion was a great and gifted musician and songwriter. What I hadn't known, and what I learned in reading the book, is that he was a devoted Catholic, having returned to the faith of his childhood in midlife and in a deliberate and a serious way. For someone like myself, whose interest as a scholar, a professor, and a writer focuses on the way that Catholicism is present in American culture in a myriad of ways, this was music to my ears. So Mike and I began conspiring to find a way to bring Dion back to the Bronx, back to Fordham, and to the Current Center. And happily, you're welcome, happily, our plotting has borne good fruit. I learned a lot about Dion as a result also of the subsequent phone calls that we enjoyed over the past few months in preparation for today's event. And one of the things I discovered is that Dion is a great storyteller as well as a great singer and musician, as we'll see in just a few minutes. Proud of his Bronx roots, Dion acknowledges that being born in the Bronx was a gift. At the time, the borough was already a hotbed of musical invention and innovation, and Dion would add to that history starting at the age of 10 when he first heard Hank Williams on the radio and shortly thereafter received his first guitar from his parents. One of the pictures on our slideshow shows him with his first guitar. It's adorable. Growing up in the rough and ready Belmont section of the Bronx, the music on the radio was like nothing he had ever heard in the neighborhood. It opened up a new world and gave him, in his own words, quote, the first taste of transcendence and a hint of salvation. Dion would pursue his passion for music, forming the legendary group Dion and the Belmonts, thereby putting a Bronx stamp on the music he would contribute to American culture. Dion found success young, performing the doo-wop sound that American audiences loved, and in the course of his long career would branch out into many musical genres, including classic rock and roll, gospel, as we just heard from Michael, folk music, and perhaps most compellingly, the blues, a genre he describes as, quote, the naked cry of the human heart longing to be in communion with God. He would travel, perform, and collaborate with the greatest musicians of his era, including Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper, Chubby Checker, Bruce Springsteen, Van Morrison, Paul Simon, Carole King, and many, many more. Given the connection Dion sees between blues and God, and indeed between the making of music and God, it becomes clear why Fordham's Center for American Catholic Studies is hosting this evening's event. One might ask the question, what does a popular rock and roll turns blues singer like Dion have to do with American Catholicism? And our answer, of course, is everything. So today's event, as our title would suggest, marks a kind of homecoming for Dion, both to his neighborhood and to his borough, but also to Fordham. One of the many fascinating things I learned in the course of our conversations is that Dion was actually born right here on the Fordham campus. Many of you maybe were born there as well. The parking garage where many of us parked this evening used to be the site of Fordham Hospital, and it was a public institution that offered free services to people. And so that's the place, just 100 yards from here, where Dion came into the world on July the 18th, 1939. He would live for the first 2 decades of his life just a few blocks from Fordham University, and after moving away, he was eventually invited back to campus when he became Dr. DiMucci, receiving an honorary degree from Fordham in 2013. So Dion has lifelong ties here, both as a very young person and as an older, mature artist. Dion grew up Catholic, as so many of us in the room did, and though he was not a particularly observant Catholic as a young man, his life was permeated by the presence of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church on 187th Street, another great neighborhood institution. Dion tells stories about the charismatic pastor, Monsignor Pernicone, who I'm sure we'll hear about today, and whom many of you might remember, asking him questions about virtue, prudence, and St. Thomas Aquinas. Things that he really didn't know very much about as a young man, but he would come back to as he grew and became more interested in his faith. After years of success, which were challenging years, wherein Dion, like many artists and musicians, dealt with the dark side of fame, including alienation and addiction, Dion would set out on his own search for the answers to these eternal questions that the Monsignor asked. He rediscovered and embraced his Catholic identity and found in it solace, truth, and joy of the sacramental life. This love of the Catholic faith manifests itself in his music as well. I'm hoping that he'll play some of my favorite songs this evening that manifest that faith. One of them is called The Thunderer, and it's a song about Saint Jerome. I don't know how many rock and roll blues artists write songs about Saint Jerome. You have to be a Catholic in order to do that. But it is a marvelous, marvelous song. And also it contains the words by another Catholic artist, Phyllis McGinley, Catholic poet. And he also has a beautiful song called Angel in the Alleyways, which he performs with Bruce Springsteen and Patti Scialfa, which attests to the presence of the divine in the least likely of places, the alleyways, the streets, the Bronx. This is a theological vision Dion shares with many Catholic artists, including St. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder, of course, of the Jesuit order and of our own school, Gerard Manley Hopkins, and Flannery O'Connor, among many others. In Dion's work, we see the Catholic imagination at work. So most of us know who Dion is and what his extraordinary accomplishments are, otherwise we wouldn't be here today, but I'll highlight just a few of those accomplishments. Dion is rock music's most authentic, or at least one of the most authentic legends. He's been making great music for 6 decades and beyond, producing over 40 albums in a wide variety of genres. He has recorded many million-seller hits, including his signature songs that I mentioned at the outset and were familiar to all of us. He has sold 28 million albums worldwide. He has been nominated multiple times for Grammy Awards, including a nomination for his gospel album, I Put Away My Idols, and his blues album, The Bronx in Blue, in 2006. In 1989, Dion was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by the great Lou Reed, in what I understand was a great tribute given to him by Lou Reed. The great Bob Dylan has called Dion, quote, a bluesman from another delta. In fact, speaking of Dylan, only 2 American musicians are featured on the legendary cover of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band album. They are Dion and Bob Dylan, acknowledging the outsized influence that 2 of America's greatest voices have had on the Beatles' music. Dion has worked with the greatest musicians of his era and has been lauded by them in various ways. Bruce Springsteen and other musicians have noted that Dion is remarkable and that he continues to produce new music decade after decade, rather than simply falling back on the old songs that he produced when he was young. When asked why he continues to create new songs, Dion has said this: you don't have to go through the trouble of making new music, because it is a lot of trouble. You can just show up and sing the old hits and you'll get what you want out of them. But it's different if you think your art is not for you. If you believe your art glorifies God, you're going to keep doing it as long as you can still breathe. When I make music, I feel like I'm crazy King David dancing before the Ark of the Covenant, singing a new song just because I'm still newly in love, or belting out the blues as a psalm of lament. As long as I can still breathe, I hope to be newly in love with God, the God who made me. He always gives me something to sing about. Dion's music has fired the imaginations of music lovers and fellow artists for decades. In the very near future, as many of you know, a new musical will be opening on Broadway called The Wanderer. It's a story of transformation and redemption. And it will demonstrate the ways in which music and the arts can and does save people's souls. And as many of you also may know, on Wednesday of this week, the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music, just across the river in Monmouth, New Jersey, will honor 4 musically, culturally, and politically important artists John Mellencamp, Jackson Brown, Mavis Staples, and Dion. In the words of Springsteen, these four cultural icons will be celebrated because they have contributed mightily to the American music canon and have demonstrated how the power of song can act as an agent for positive change in our country. We are fortunate indeed to have this extraordinary American Catholic artist and troubadour here with us this evening to share his life, his faith, his vocation, and his music. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Dion DiMucci back to Fordham University.
Yo! Say yo! One more yo! Yo! All right. Angela, did you get it all? Angela asked me to come here and talk about the neighborhood and the music, and she said, how does an Italian Catholic kid get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I said, it's easy. You know, when you're from the Bronx, man, you get up 3 o'clock in the morning, you sneak through the kitchen, you take the elevator to the second floor, you go to the back, take the back staircase, go into the side door, you're in. Let's see, my neighborhood, it was great coming up here. You know, I drove through the neighborhood. Let me see. Bronx Zoo, the borderline of my neighborhood was like, Bronx Zoo was the east side of the territory, my hood. You could see every animal imaginable on the face of the planet. Now, not so much, they see you. Then we had botanical gardens, you know, because I belonged to a gang, the Fordham Baldies. We used to go swimming in botanical gardens, Bare Ass Beach. We dove off the mountain. It wasn't a mountain, it was a rock, but you know, to us it was a mountain. And then you had the Grand Concourse to the west. You can go up Fordham Road, and there it is, the Champs-Élysées of the Bronx. And St. Martin Tours lined the south side of my neighborhood, 182nd Street. Then it went from the Fordham Baldies to the Imperial Hoods. That means nothing to you. And then Fordham College was on the north side, you know. And it was a macho Italian neighborhood, you know. It was everything was respect and reputation. It was like, yo, the kid is here. What do you want to know? I thought you had to be born knowing everything. I didn't know you had to go to college. So, you know, it was like we didn't know anything about it. Had nothing to do with character. We didn't even know how to spell the word. And my grandfather, Tony, would take me up Fordham Road. About halfway up Fordham Road, there was the Windsor Theater up in there. Yeah, the Windsor Theater, where they brought in the operas, La Bohème, La Traviata, Turandot. But you know, the legend in my family was when the lead in the opera Turandot would sing Nessun Dorma, and the crescendo, and I'd get out of my seat, and I thought the conductor or the maestro needed some help, you know. So I was like 7 years old, you know. My grandfather would take me to these operas, but I would start leading this orchestra. break of dawn. I got my guitar in the back. Man, I got a set of new strings on. I got a woman who really wants me. I got another who wants me gone. I got some cash in my pocket. Yeah, and I'm out on the road again. I got me a pack of cigarettes. Lord, I should hit Memphis by 10. I got plenty of miles to put between now and back then. I turn the radio up, oh man, drown out the blues down inside. I drain the coffee from the cup, man, I make it a longer ride. If I ain't feeling better, people, I swear I'm a man who ain't never lied. I got a tank full of blues. It's coming out of my shoes. I got a tank full of blues. It's seeping out of my tattoos. Yeah, and I got a tank full of blues. Yeah, plenty of miles to go on. So my mother, Fran and Pat, my parents, I just got off the plane, got some funk going. So my mom was super responsible. She had 2 jobs. She'd take 2 buses up to Fordham Road, take the D train, was a milliner downtown in Manhattan. And my father was totally irresponsible. He never had a real job. You know, some people grow up, they grow old, but they don't grow up, you know. He was like I guess if you unzip him, you'd see like an emotional 13-year-old inside. But he was my hero. The guy was he was wild, man. He could swim. Go to Orchard Beach and swim from section 17 to 1 and back again. And then he'd come home and he'd walk on the edge of the tenement buildings on his hands. He was like Tarzan. And then he would sculpt. He would go down into the cellar and sculpt these beautiful, he thought he was Michelangelo or so, make marionettes. I mean, the guy was he was definitely on the spectrum. I don't know where. But my mother was making the sauce one day. I remember we lived in this railroad, apartment. And it was Sunday. I must have been about 10, 11. And I heard, out of the transistor in the back bedroom, I heard Honky Tonk Blues. It went like this. Well, it didn't go like this. I'm not Hank Williams. But this is what I heard. Yeah, and I live my home down on the road route. I told my pa was gonna step in down and get the honky-tonk blues. Get the honky-tonk blues. Whoa, Lord, I got the honky-tonk blues. Yeah, and I tuck my worries underneath my arm, scat right back to my pappy's farm and lead the honky-tonk blues. Yeah, the honky-tonk blues. Whoa, Lord, I I got the honky-tonk blues. You know, I'll tell you, when I heard that, song, you know, I come from an Italian neighborhood. And they were listening to Jimmy Roselli and Al Martino and Jerry Vale, you know, like, Femina, you know, and Hank Williams, he kind of dug into the lyric, like physically, and come to the end of the sentence and ripped off the word. And I went, wow, what is this? And it hurled me into a place of enchantment, because my parents, man, they didn't smoke, they didn't drink, they didn't use drugs, they didn't carouse, they weren't bigots, but they argued 24 hours a day over the $36 a month rent on 183rd and Prospect. And that's all and it was unbearable. It was like, I had to hide. I listened to records, you know. So the thing is that I heard Hank Williams, then I heard Jimmy Reed, and I heard stuff like, it was amazing. I heard he did a thing. Oh, if you leave me, baby, and say you won't be back, girl, that'll be the death of me, 'cause I have a heart attack. You better take some insurance out on me, baby. Take some insurance out on me, baby. 'Cause if you ever say goodbye, I'm gonna lay right down and die. And then he did You're the one, you really give me a buzz. You're the one, you really give me a buzz. I didn't think I could last much longer, but it shows you just how wrong I was. I went out of my mind. I ran out of my house. I ran up the corner. I said, guys, you know, I had a little group of friends. I heard a guy rhyme was with buzz. He rhymed was with buzz. And they looked at me like, what the hell did you eat? What's wrong with you? And I thought, I got to get a guitar and show them, you know, like what I heard, you know. He rhymed what? Angela O'Donnell, queen of poetry. Get that. Was with buzz. You can use it. You got it. I got her new book, Dear Dante. It's going to keep me out of trouble for at least a month. So I guess, you know, when I heard that stuff, I ran up to Fordham Road. I knew there was a record shop up there. I passed it sometime. I made friends with this guy, Lou Cicchetti. And I told him what I heard, and we became real good friends. And he would call me every time he got a Hank Williams record in or a Jimmy Reed record, you know. Got me running, got me hiding, got me run, hide, run, anywhere I wanna let it roll. Yeah. You got me doing what you want me, anyway you wanna let it go. You know, like that. So I'd go up there, man. Lou, did you hear that song, Jimmy Reed? Jimmy, I found this passion when I was like 11 years old. I told you, it hurled me into a place of enchantment, like delight, like transcendent, way above the arguments in my house. So it wasn't on this, and you know, if there's any students here tonight, I tell you, if you could just think about the gift the creative gift that God gave you in whatever area that you enjoy, and that's a service to people, grab onto it, because I'm 85. I still wake up with that enchantment. I mean, you know. It's a wonderful thing to have a passion. It's a wonderful thing. I met this guy who was a janitor on Crotona Avenue, one of the tenement buildings, a black guy who played guitar. His name was Willie Green. And Willie knew John Lee Hooker songs, you know, and John Lee Hooker, he was wild, man. The guy would just, one chord, and he'd say whatever he wanted, you know, like, baby, 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 saving them. You know I love you, honey. I'm gonna tell you one time, baby. You know you make me want a boogie jacket. You know, it was like that. And I couldn't wait to get out of junior high school to run over to Willie's house, say, play me another song. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I just wanted to be with Willie and learn this stuff. You know, I just wanted to hear it. And here's a song put together that's right, that expresses the heart of Willie Green. Take it back, what you have said. You can't dry the tears I shed. Take it on, but take it out. Don't make me rage, girl, don't make me shout. You've been taking all that's mine. Baby, you know it's time. I want you gone, 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 out of my mind. Take your turn, from bad to worse. Take your coat, take your purse, take those lies you had in store. I can't take you, baby, no more. You've been taking all that's mine. Baby, you know it's time. I want you gone, 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 out of my mind. Something like that. Yeah, so Willie, you know, Willie was like, he almost became like my confessor, you know, like a priest or something, you know. I just, because the man gave me a great sense of purpose and direction, and he was a wonderful guy with integrity and immense courage. And now that I look back on it at my age, I know that he had worked his way through something, you know, and he'd come out the other side because he'd always mention when Mount Carmel church bells rang. You hear the bells there? Who was listening? I didn't hear no bells. I had so much going on in my head. Listen to those bells. And then he would tell me, I was running with this gang, the Fordham Baldies, you know. I mean, sometimes up to no good, I guess, you know. But I'd tell him about my parents and the $36, and he'd say, you know, Dion, he said, I don't see you with that gang in the future. He said, that's not where your future is, you know. And I remember I walked past Mount Carmel Catholic Church. I was about 15 years old. At the time, you know, my collar up, man. You know, I was like the rebel king in the neighborhood in my head, you know. You know, because I had all this, it's like black music filtered through an Italian neighborhood. It comes out with an attitude, yo. So I'm walking along, yo, you know. So Monsignor Pettinacone used to walk up and down in front of the church saying his prayers, and he'd catch me all the time. Yo, Dion, come over here. I'd be on the other side of the street. Come over here. What's this movie, Rebel Without a Cause? I say, Monsignor, that's a great movie. That's a James Dean movie. Dion, why rebel without a cause? Rebel for the truth, Dion. Then you really got something. What makes a man happy, Dion? Hey, Monsignor, if I could get a black Thunderbird with black leather bucket seats and wire chrome wheels, and I get a Gibson J200 guitar like Elvis Presley. Man, if I could get a date with that girl, Susan. This girl, Susan, I'm telling you, Monsignor, she come into the neighborhood. She's from Vermont. She's so sweet, I can't get her off my mind. I go to school, I'm sitting there in the classroom, Monsignor, I can't hear a thing. I got this girl on my mind. Dion, the virtuous man is a happy man. What the hell is he talking about? I thought he had a cold like virtue, you know. I don't know. What are you talking about? What's virtue? And then, you know, he'd stand and, you know, we'd have these conversations. I still remember it. It's a habitual and firm disposition to do the good. I was up to no good. I don't know what the hell the good was. You know, I was like, I had a lot of things on my mind, but it wasn't doing good, you know. That's where these songs come from. Down the dirty city street, black top sneakers on my feet, I raced through early teenage years, and I dealt with all those nameless fears. Waiting as the school bell rang, I dropped my books to join the gang. In alley fights and stickball games, where passing girls wore dirty names. Over my shoulder and back through the years, I can see my father's eyes in my memory, telling me Jesus died upon the cross. All was won and nothing lost, and son, the truth will set you free. I turned my collar and I combed my hair. I'd hide all the confusion there. When 2 dimes made my pockets ring, I was a wealthy New York king. Being cool by the candy store, I knew my world yet wanted more. My high school colors of black and blue, they would disturb my point of view. Over my shoulder, back through the years, you will see your father's eyes in your memory, telling you Jesus died upon the cross. All was won and nothing lost, and son, the truth will set you free. Yeah. Can I say that I know it? Can I tell you what I did not say? The candy Candy stores turned shopping mall. 2 dimes won't buy you much at all. The boy Caruso on the street is a father now in slippered feet. He tells his son as years go by how God's the truth and hate's a lie. It's not what's in your pocket, son, but what's in your heart that makes us one. Over my shoulder, back through the years, you will see your father's eyes in your memory, telling you Jesus died upon the cross. All was won and nothing lost. Son, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you, the truth will set you free. It was like, I come out of my house and I walk up to Crotona Avenue, and there was George's Bar and Tally's Pool Room and Moe's Candy Store and, you know, and the Shoemaker, you know. And it's a funny thing that, you know, the guys on the corner, I start looking at them. I have more songs written about these guys on the corner, like The Wanderer and King of the New York Streets, Gangster of Love, I forget. Help me out, my songwriting partners here. We wrote a couple of new ones. What? But you know, it's kind of like bragging rights songs. You know, they're like, I'll do one of them for you, because you know, like, well, The Wanderer is like, I had a hit record called The Wanderer, and it goes, it's about. But you know, it's about for one brief second, it shows you who the guy is, and then it goes back to the song. But it goes, I'm the type of guy, never like to roam around, never in one place. I roam from town to town. I find myself falling for some girl. I hop in that car, man, drive around the world. I'm a wanderer, yeah, I'm a wanderer. I roam around. You know, in this flow, on my left arm, Mary on my right, Janie is the girl I'll be with tonight. Little girl ask me which one I love best. Tail up in my shirt, show a rosy on my chest. I'm a wanderer. I get around, round, yeah. Here goes. I roam from town to town. I go through life without a care. I'm happy as a clown. My 2 fists of iron, but I'm going nowhere. Nah, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I told you, one day this girl from Vermont moved into the Bronx. Now, nobody moves to the Bronx. You're either born here or whatever, but you don't. No, nobody moves. You move out of the Bronx. And she moved to the Bronx from Vermont, and I never saw anything like this in my life. I was like 15 years old, and I was like, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I mean, she moved down here, and I became a 15-year-old stalker. I didn't even know what it meant at that, but I was like, and she was like, who are you? Like I just wanted to get close to her any way I could. I was shy, believe it or not. I was very shy. But, one day she was sitting on one of the stoops on Crotona Avenue, and I started playing with, she had pedal pushers on with zippers, and I started playing with, she said, what are you doing? I didn't know. I didn't know how to act. I just wanted to get close to this girl any way I could, I'm married to this girl 61 years. I mean, what I'm talking about. And my wife, Susan moved down from Vermont. I never knew they grew anything as beautiful as Susan up in Vermont. It was like my heart, I just thought, you want to know, once I looked at this girl and I talked to her, I said, hello. I couldn't think of anything else. I went to, PS 45. I just stared at the blackboard. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't hear anybody. Two things. I couldn't wait to get out of school to sit with Willie, to teach me some John Lee Hooker songs, and to be with, not be with, but, my passion was to get close to this girl any way I could. And, it was amazing. She was so sweet. One time, I saw her at a party, 16. We went to a party, a Sweet 16 party. I remember this girl, Barbara. And, I walked up to her and I said, hey, I was trying to show her that, I had it going on. Yo, the kid is here. What do you want to know? I know. Who knew you had to go to college to know? I thought you were supposed to be born knowing everything. So, I went up to her and I said, that guy Bosco, he's a real jerk-off. She said, my wife is a wordsmith. She said, Dion, I believe Bosco's perception of reality is colored and skewed by his limitations. I said, that's what I said. He's a jerk-off. And this girl really, as I started, what impressed her? I had a part-time job. I made a lot of quarters delivering sandwiches, and I bought a J200 guitar. And when I opened it at St. Martin's Dance to do a song, she looked at that guitar. It was like Elvis Presley's guitar. It's the most beautiful guitar you ever want to see. It's a J200. Google it. You want to covet this guitar. And I had one with velvet inside the case. That impressed her. She knew, I must be, not be somebody, but I must be telling the truth or something. So she decided to go out with me, and we went to the Paradise Theater up on the Grand Concourse. This girl, she was something else. It's where these songs come from. Is this the girl that caught my eye? 3 lockers down from mine, who floated through the schoolyard lines and taught the sun to shine? Was I the boy who sang his dreams while thinking just of you? A shadow in the moonlight night on Belmont Avenue. Oh, were we the pair who danced alone upon the rooftop high? The moon glows on the radio beneath the diamond sky. If I knew all the answers, I'd win a Nobel Prize, but I'm content to know they lie behind Susan's eyes, behind Susan's eyes. And wasn't I the rebel king, turning wild 17, while you saw through my fantasy? The neighborhood saw James Dean. Weren't you the girl who laughed at me, but finally wore my ring? Who rarely voiced a soft complaint and anchored everything? Or didn't we run away through autumn fields of gold, where we could stay forever young, we never would grow old? If I knew all the answers, I'd win a Nobel Prize, but I'm content to know they lie behind Susan's eyes, behind Susan's eyes. You know, and Susan always encouraged my dreams. I would tell her all these things I wanted to do, and I'd get her records, and we'd talk on a park, you know, on the park benches, and oh God. And finally, she encouraged me to go down to Laurie Records, and it was a little record company that was starting up, and I auditioned. You know, I want for the money. You know, where does this kid come from? You know, and I was like, you know, sign them up. Get your parents down here, and to, you know, witness the signature, because I was 17. And I started getting hit records. Hit records. Man, I'm telling you. I went down there, played. They said, don't you, you know, doo-wop is popular. You know, they were telling me, and I said, I don't know, I like Hank Williams, I like Jimmy Reed. Well, I wanted to play, you know, so I ran back to the Bronx, and I recruited 3 guys. We went down there, we made up some sounds on the way downtown on the train. You know, we were trying to, because we used to go to the Apollo Theater and hear the horns, you know. You know, we would go back and we would start making up sounds, you know. So we start like just, you know, making up sounds, you know, and, you know, we didn't have no lyrics. The only, I don't know, we didn't know how to write lyrics. So we made up sounds, you know. So anyway, I get these hit records, and I go on tour with Buddy Holly for a whole, I don't know how many of you know Buddy Holly, but yeah, when I Wonder Why, he had like about 8 hit records already. He was out of Lubbock, Texas. A great guy, man. He was like so statuesque. He was like an accountant, you know, with glasses, and he was very, very statuesque and decisive, and he was an old soul, you know, and he taught me a lot of stuff. He would say to me, Dion, I don't know how to succeed, but I know how to fail. Try to please everybody. So I don't think, if he told, you know, there was a difference between success and fulfillment. You know, he defined stuff for me, this guy. Who knew? I thought success, man, you'd get fulfilled. But I know a lot of successful people, they're not fulfilled. They're unhappy, some of them, you know, anyway. But anyway, Buddy Holly, we went on this tour in 58 for a whole month with his wife. She was pregnant, and we became good friends. And then the following year, 1959 in February, the agency put the Winter Dance Party tour together, and they asked me to, Buddy wanted me on it, and we went out. And crisscrossing the Midwest and 25 below zero weather, and he got so disgusted with, his manager held his money. He put it in some kind of bonds, and he wouldn't give him his money, so he was on the road to get some cash. And the Crickets, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, they stayed in Texas. They didn't want to travel anymore. They didn't want to go to New York. He was in New York. He started a publishing company. He got married. He met the Chicano, this Puerto Rican chick that was like blew his mind. He got married in 5 minutes. It was like he fell in love with this girl, Maria Elena. And we were out on the tour. He wanted to rent a plane. He did. I think you know the story. There's a whole video that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did on the story. You could Google it. It's called the True Buddy Holly Story. And it talks about, because it was so confusing. Nobody ever sat me down and said, tell me the story for an hour and a half, So I did, but on that tour, the bus was so cold. It was like we didn't have a good heater. It wasn't like a Willie Nelson, Royal, these buses they have. It was like a Baptist yellow school bus with a bad heater. So, and back then we had radiators that kept the rooms warm. So I wrote this song. We used to sing it in the back of the bus. Keep us warm, Tearing down the highway, look at all that ice and snow. Yeah, and I'm getting ready, baby, for another show. I'm gonna hug my radiator when I hit my hotel room. Chicago, Fargo, another town they call Green Bay. My bones are rocking, crazy, mama shaking, baby, all the way. I'm gonna hug my radiator when I hit my hotel room. Nothing really matters when you're riding on a broken down bus. All I got is you, all you got is me. Add it up and we got us. I'm a fast dancing, romancing, blue jean rocker, you see. But I'm feeling, baby, colder than an icicle hanging on a tree. I'm gonna hug my radiator when I hit my hotel room. And then we'd sing, like I said, hug my radiator, they go, my radiator, hug my radiator, hug my radiator, hug my radiator. Yeah, hug my radiator. I'm gonna hug my radiator. Nobody knows what a radiator is anymore, do they? Yeah, I'm a steady rolling man, but no girls are rolling this way. I got rambling beer on my mind today. I'm gonna hug my radiator when I hit my hotel room. Buddy got so fed up on the bus that he chartered a plane. He was like 22 years old. I was 19. He was taking flying lessons out of Teterboro Airport in Jersey. I was learning how to hail a cab. I was like 19, How do you do it like that? I didn't know. So, that $36, I always hated my parents for arguing all those years, but it saved my life. We were in a room, and he rented it was like a small plane, 4-seater, one engine. And one of us couldn't go because it was the pilot, Buddy, and two of us. There was Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, and myself. We flipped the coin. I won the coin toss in the room. I was like, it was me and the Big Bopper won. And when he said $36, I said, man, I'm not going to spent like on an hour and a half flight to Moorhead, Minnesota. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Richie, why don't you? I said, take your coat. And Buddy said, mind the guitars. Make sure you know. But I gave my seat to Richie. I was, for a long time, just in shock. I didn't even know how to digest that. I really had no idea. They didn't have grief counseling in the Bronx in 1959. My Aunt Anna said, you want a ham sandwich? That was it. That was grief counseling. They fed you. You want some mozzarella? You want some prosciutto with the mozzarella? You know, I don't know. So that was it. I came home. I started using drugs. And I don't know if any of you, I got really bad, because I thought I could handle this stuff. I took it once. I was like, whew, this is nice. I didn't have to deal with any emotions. I was like, wow, this is good. And then it turned into hell. And if any of you know alcoholics or drug addicts, you know how they do life. They blame everybody for everything. Why don't you? You know what's wrong with you? You never. You always. You're too sensitive. That's what's wrong with you. Why don't you loosen up a little? You're too tight. It's you. It's not like me. It couldn't be me. I'm not the problem. So that's the way I did. That's the way I started getting. I started getting crazy. I started blaming you hurt people when you're doing drugs like that. You really hurt people. And I was running with this guy, Frankie Lyman, who was the lead singer of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. Why do fools fall in love? And he died taking a shot one day in 1968, February. Just went right out. Scared the hell out of me. And I just got on my knees. I said a prayer. And I met this guy. He took me to a 12-step spiritually based program. By the way, I know the history because I've been clean and sober 56 years. I haven't had a drug or a drink. And the 12 steps are based on the disciplines of St. Ignatius of Loyola. And, they were picked up by the Oxford group from England. Then it came to America, and Bill Wilson picked up on them, and that's the 12 steps. And that's the group that this guy brought me to, I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees. Down to the crossroads, man, I fell down on my knees. And I asked the Lord above, have mercy, save me, will you please? Down to the crossroads, tried to flag it right. I went down to the crossroads, tried to flag me right. Nobody seemed to know me. Everybody passed me by. There's only one thing, baby, make me want to drink. It depends on how you treat me, baby. I begin to think, oh, baby, my life don't feel the same. You break my heart when you call Mr. So-and-so's name. Sweet Jesus, the story I've been told. Sweet Jesus, in the story I've been told. If I cried out, Lord, have mercy, you'd come and save my soul. You can run, you friend, oh, Willie Brown. Run, people, tell my friend, oh, Willie Brown. I'm standing at the crossroads, people. I believe I'm sinking down. That sun gone down. That sun gonna catch me here. Sun gone down. The sun gonna catch me here. I got no sweet woman right now who wants to love and feel my care. Thank you. You know, my wife, at the time, you know, this was 1968. She said, Dion, I love you. I'd go to hell for you. But if you choose to keep taking that stuff, you could go to hell for yourself. I'm out of here. And man, that scared me. She wouldn't have it. Thought I was bad and I had to get good. Thought I was smart but I misunderstood. Felt I was weak and I had to get strong. I was sure I was right, then I found I was wrong. Thought I was lost and I had to get found. They called me square so I tried to get round. Felt I was lazy and I had to get busy. Swore I was high but I was just plain dizzy. But I say, now I really know I never knew before. God come knocking at my life and I finally opened up the door. Everybody singing, hey, sweet surrender. You lift me higher, sweet surrender. You lift me higher, higher. Whoa, sweet surrender. Thought I was bored, so I made a switch. Thought I was poor and I had to get rich. Felt I was crazy and I had to get sane. It wasn't enough, so I changed my name. I thought my ego needed a pat on the back. I thought my image needed a Cadillac. There I was sitting in the driver's seat. I was feeling down and incomplete. I say, but now I really know I never knew before. Lord Jesus, come knocking at my life. I finally opened up the door. Everybody, I said, now, oh, sweet surrender. You lift me higher, higher. Oh, glory to you, Lord. Yeah, I should. I'm going to do this song because, you know, when you're using drugs and you're drinking, you hurt a lot of people, man. You know, it's all about you and you're selfish, self-centered. You make decisions totally based on self. You don't even know anybody's alive. And then you come out of it. I never saw the morning till I stayed up all night. I never saw the sunshine till you turned out the light. I never saw my hometown till I stayed way too long. I never heard the melody till I needed the song. Till I needed the song. I never saw the white line till I was leaving you behind. I never knew I needed you till I was caught up in a bind. Never said I love you till I cursed you, girl, in vain. Never felt my heartstrings till I nearly went insane. I nearly went insane. Moments, they're windows to all eternity. But I never saw the beauty of my lifetime. Your love was veiled through so much I had to do, but each road I took, it led me further, further from you. You know, I never saw the East Coast till I moved to the West. I never saw the moonlight till it shone off of your breast. I never saw your heart, girl, until he tried to steal it away. I never saw your tears, girl, till they rolled down your face. Till they rolled down your face. I've come home. I've come home, yeah. I got clean and sober April 1st, 1968. You know? And it's hard to do that because you got to stop listening to people. You can't do it alone, you know? It's a humbling thing, you know? My friend said, the last stage of humility is learning how to receive gracefully. And I got it. He didn't. But 4 days after I got clean and sober, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And this country was in a lot of unrest. And you could kill the dreamer, but you cannot kill the dream. You know, there's a state of love that does exist, and it's for us to work at it and make it real. And I was watching a YouTube thing, and the night that Bobby Kennedy spoke, it was April 4th, and he made a long speech because, you know, his brother was shot down by a white guy. So he was talking to people about it, you know. And he said Aeschylus was his favorite poet. And he quoted him. He said, this is what I took it right from the speech. He said, even in our sleep, pain, which cannot forget, falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the powerful grace of God. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness. What we need in the United States isn't division, but it's love, it's wisdom and compassion towards one another. And he said this April 4th, 1960. Sounds like today. Put the song together. Does anybody here see my old friend Abraham? Can you tell me where he's gone? Yeah. He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just looked round and he was gone. Is anybody here? Have you seen my friend John? Yeah. Can you tell me where he's gone? Yeah. He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just look round. Will the circle be unbroken? Yeah. In the sky, my love. In the sky. Is anybody here seen my friend Martin? Yeah. Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. But just look round, he was gone. Didn't you love the things that they stood for? Didn't they try to find some good for you and me? And we'll be free someday. Soon it's gonna be one day. Anybody here, have you seen my friend Bobby? Can you tell me where he's gone? I thought I saw him walking up over the hill, yeah, with Abraham, Martin, and John. Yeah. You know, I just looked round, they were gone. They were gone. Thank you. I'll leave you with this. Angela asked me to, she liked this song, so I'm going to tell you the story about it. It's called The Thunderer. And my writing partner, Mike Aquilina, is sitting right here. He's from... Hey, and the last 3 albums we did were like #1 blues albums. We did. We did songs like I'll do one chorus. It's one of those wise guy songs. We call it bragging rights. I'll go, to the wise guys on the corner, the Wanderer. Because the Wanderer was written about a guy named Jackie Burns. He come walking down the street with a tank top. He had like tattoos all over him. Flo on his left arm, Mary on his right, Janie is the, and then every time he'd break up with the girl, he'd get a panther cover up Flo, and a dagger covered up Mary, and then Janie. And then he got Rosie on his chest, so, every time I do an album, this theme just rises to the top of my senses, and we'd write these songs like King of the New York Streets, like people call me the scandalizer. The world was my appetizer. I turned gangs into fertilizer. King of the New York streets. I taught, that kind of thing. And we did this one. This one's good. I like this. I'll do a little of this. I love this. Baby, I ain't the mob. I'm not the racket. I gotta. How's it go? Baby, I ain't the mob. I got no racket. I'm a man out doing a job, packing heat underneath my jacket. Heat in my heart is loaded up for the night. I finish what I start, and baby, you know I might. I am your gangster of love. Hey, now what do you think of that? I put away all my rivals, all with a rat-a-tat-tat-tat. Baby, let's take a ride. Hop into my caddy. I got an offer you can't refuse. I'm gonna be your gangster daddy. Don't call it FBI, don't call the undercover. Give me a try. I'm gonna be your gangster lover. I'm your gangster of love. Hey, now what do you think of that? I put away all the rivals, oh, with a rat-a-tat-tat-tat. Angela told me 45 minutes. I don't know where I am, but I'll do. This is the last story. Mike Aquilina and I met in 2005. We were in Rome. We met in Rome. We went on an excursion with Scott Hahn, a great teacher and theologian. I love theology. I was a weird kid. I was reading like St. Thomas Aquinas when I was, Susan, Willie Green, St. Thomas Aquinas, God. That was it for me. That's all I wanted to know. Well, who is God? What does he eat? Is he married? Where does he live? And then I found out that he wasn't a supreme being within the universe. He's outside of space and time. He's the sheer act of being itself. He's not contingent on anything. He's the great I am. Listen, you hear those bells? All things are possible with God, I got on my knees one night. They told me in this 12-step program, and the 12-step program, I told you, it was gleaned from the disciplines of St. Ignatius of Loyola, who started the Jesuits, hence Fordham College. So I meet Mike. We're in Rome. And I didn't know him, and I'm standing underneath the statue of St. Jerome. And all I know about St. Jerome is I used to visit this little chapel that had a plaque in the back said, "Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ." So I look at this guy, Mike Aquilina. He's sitting right there. I said, "Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ." St. Jerome. It was a famous quote. So he goes, "The Thunderer." I said, "The Thunderer? What the hell? What's the Thunderer? I know the Wanderer, but I don't know the Thunderer." So he says, St. Jerome was an ornery guy, man. He didn't get along with people. He used to curse at people, and he had no tolerance at all. I said, "How did he become a saint? I thought you had to be humble to be a saint." He said, "Takes all kinds to make it to heaven." So I said, I had to learn about this guy, St. Jerome. He was born, back when he was born, when he was a kid, the brightest of the brightest students, they sent them to Rome to be educated. And St. Jerome was born like what we now call Croatia, and he was in Rome, and this is the 4th century, and the Pope, Damius, I think, Pope Damius, he saw how brilliant he was, and he told Jerome, I want you to translate the Bible from Greek to Latin. So he did. I can't even read it in English. This guy translates. I mean, he translates it. This is the Vulgate. It was the first, Latin. But he couldn't stay in Rome. Everybody got on his nerves. The way they dressed, the way they talked. Greeks bothered him. Italians bothered him. So he moves to Israel, makes friends with a rabbi, and learns Hebrew, and translates the Bible again from Hebrew to Latin. I said, this guy deserves a song. I mean, the thunder. I said, what? Because you think like, they couldn't think back then. They were nice people, but, they didn't know much. Hey. So this guy was off the charts, Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. Now you get some feces on a canvas, come on. Give me a break, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I got the guitar out and we started fooling around, and I Googled St. Jerome, and I found Phyllis McGinley's poem. And so we gleaned from that, and we put the song together. It was our first song that we wrote. And then this disc jockey in Woodstock started playing it, and a priest heard it, and a friend of his, and he liked it, and he brought it down to St. Jerome's High School right here in the Bronx. And now the football team and the basketball team are called the Thunderers, and that's the mascot, and they play the song, and Mike and I have been writing ever since. God's angry man, his crotchety scholar, was St. Jerome, the great name caller, who cared not a dime for the laws of libel, and in his spare time translated the Bible. St. Jerome, the thunderer, quick to disparage all joys but learning. St. Jerome thought marriage better than burning, but he didn't like women's painted cheeks. He didn't like Romans, he didn't like Greeks. St. Jerome, the thunderer. But he swelled men's minds with godly leaven. It takes all kinds to make it to heaven. Yeah. In almighty prose for almighty ends, he thrust at his foes, he quarreled with his friends. He served the Lord, though with complaint. He wasn't a plaster sort of saint. St. Jerome, the thunderer. Can't get through life by just being nice. Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ. Love without truth is just sentimental. Truth without love is sterile. St. Jerome, the thunderer. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate it. Thank you, Angela, for asking. It was a lot of fun. Thank you all. Love you.